I think building on his point, as marketers, our toolbox just got a little bit bigger. So now we've got a few different things to use and better. So it just means that now we have different tools to choose from to solve this particular problem, and we pick the right ones we need to solve this client's issue, which will be different than the ones we pick to solve that
And
client's
I don't
issue.
want to see traditional media go away.
No, absolutely.
No, I
It
mean,
still has a
I want to
place.
see all that stuff stick around because every one of those different channels is an opportunity for us to speak effectively to an audience in a certain way, given the strengths of that medium. I think it's fantastic. Bring it on.
Things can change so rapidly, though, that I'd caution even thinking 2 years ahead about traditional media. Because I remember 2 years ago or 3 years ago having a discussion, a fairly heated discussion with another one of my employees or partners in another company about whether we needed to be on mobile or not. And mobile wasn't as big just 2 or 3 years ago. But now all of a sudden, you got to be on mobile. Mobile is huge. In fact, people are spending, they saw a stat, 29% of their time on mobile versus the amount of dollars that are going into mobile is only like tiny compared to it. And newspapers,
and
unfortunately,
smartphones are only 42% penetration rate.
yeah. And then on that same chart showed newspapers at amount of time or amount of money spent up here and the amount of time spent down here. So it's the exact opposite. So you can see that something's happening big in the newspaper industry. People aren't spending the time, and they're spending all the dollars, and people aren't spending the time. What's going to happen, along the road? So these changes are dramatic that are happening. Like I'm just thinking 2 years ago, like the arguments I had are so different from today.
I think whether it's 2 years from now or 2 years ago, or go back to when David Ogilvy was asking questions in the late 40s, early 50s. It came down to today we might say, how do you clearly describe or define your brand? He might have said, how can you clearly define or describe your business? And what is your plan? Those questions, I don't believe have ever changed or will ever change and will always be the core root of where we all start, no matter what's going on around us. And the others are just a toolbox. Because I think that needs to be the core of our business and what we do to move forward. And I don't think it's changed in decades.
And I kind of hope it doesn't because it's a neat business.
Oh yeah,
It's
absolutely.
a really, really interesting thing, and we just got more ways to do it now.
Absolutely.
Just out of also interested, like television, I see change, and I look at what's going on with Rogers and who just bought Toronto's the Maple Leaf. Everything's moving. Seems TV is just shifting towards if it's not live, which gives engagement, a second screen, and brings all those things into play. Do you see a big shift happening, or has that shift already occurred in TV? I know there's not a ton of Winnipeg companies doing a lot of TV, but television is really becoming all about live reality. Sort of started that in a sport, but live sport seems to be almost the last bastion of,
I hate to be rude.
No
I'm a parent
problem.
teacher.
Yeah, we're gonna
I gotta
wrap
get
up.
to. Thanks guys, good seeing you. Good meeting you.
Bye-bye.
See you, Ryan.
TV's a hard one. I personally probably watch next to zero commercials. PVR,
Yeah.
because I just don't. I want to be able to watch a 2-hour show in an hour and 40 minutes or an hour show in 40
But
minutes.
what about live split? That's for sports. That's where I think everybody's going to sports because
Yeah.
you're not going to PVR it because
Yeah.
the old adage of I don't want to hear the score. Don't tell me the score. Well,
I still PVR every sport though that I want to watch, and I watch it later, and I just try my hardest never.
Do you?
You see me doing this a lot in the stands. I say,
I don't know. I mean, you can see them trying things like live Twitter streams and feeds and stuff like that. I don't know how.
What about the Apple TV though? That was setting everybody up to wonder what the heck's gonna. Not the Apple TV little box, but Apple getting into the whole TV industry. That had everybody thinking, what are they going to do to us? Like what they did to the music industry
Right.
and to the book industry, and it goes on and on and on. So what are they going to do to the TV industry? They may have the perfect model that advertising works in perfectly. Like right now, if you go to a YouTube video that's not someone, I forget what the rules are, but if it's not copyrighted material or the opposite, if it is, you get to put an ad. They can put an ad at the front, and you're forced to watch it. So all of a sudden, you go into this ad, which is not so hot because you're going in handcuffed. I have to watch this ad in order to get to that video, unless I look somewhere else. And so you're going in and watching this ad with a feeling of it got me. I hate this. So what kind of a mood or emotion is that going into seeing a message coming from a brand? But those things could work, you know, those things where, like on the tablet, as I was saying in Wired magazine, there's an ad right there, and I can't get rid of it until I do this, which is like paper,
Yeah.
but I still look at it, turn it, because oftentimes you don't know that it's an ad right away.
So I want to wrap up, just to sort of keep time. But is there any last, you know, have we covered everything in terms of how the whole this, because it's changing. Like the shift has.
Well,
it's crazy what's happening.
I was thinking of your business coming here, and I was like, if you look at I read this article about, included Vogue magazine as an example. People pick up the Vogue magazine and they love it when it's this thick and it's got this many ads all in the front, and they're looking at all the ads and all the editorials at the back. So they're delivering to people what they want. They want the ads. So if you deliver to people what they want, your medium would work really well. So in all those mediums, we really need to deliver to people what they want, and hopefully entertain them along the way. But what they want, and they come back.
And it's turning into what they want, when they want, how they want, where they want, why they want.
Yeah. Like I love scanning through your magazines because they have local ads in them. Like mostly, for the most part. I mean, when you score a national, it's great, but the local guys, it's interesting to see what they're doing. So I love your, you know, and then of course you've got great articles too.
Well, content, no matter what, right? Content is still. Yeah. I mean, it's like saying if you can fit 140 characters, but it's about content. If your content's really good.
Yeah.
That 140 characters can go a long way. If your content's garbage, I give you an essay, right? And you can, if you're not going to write something good or put content there that's no good. So whether it's advertising content, advertorial, emotional connection, whatever it is, has to be good. Okay?
One thing that we haven't touched on is ROI actually, and I don't know what you guys, but I think even with website analytics and also social media, whatever medium you're doing now for clients, whatever that call to action is, yes, there's always, you know, how many people came down to my storefront, right? But with analytics and web traffic and interaction and the online communication, that's giving now the client a lot of power to go, okay, well, we're going to run this campaign and we're going to invest in this, and we're going to drive people to the website or to Facebook, whatever have you. And now it's something that we can't really hide around. We can say, we can blame Glenn saying, well, your publication isn't going to the right target audience and whatever have you, or you don't have a passionate reader. But now that's kind of been removed, where it's not just, okay, let's place an ad in the Free Press because it has 125,000 circulation. It's not about that anymore. So ROI is really important because the client goes, well, you ran this campaign and one of the many objectives was to increase your Facebook followers or something, and if it didn't happen, we have to answer.
Yeah, that's true.
And being accountable is very important in this industry, absolutely, because we're playing with a lot of money. But it's wide open now.
Yeah, you can't hide.
Yeah. But you also have to be really, really careful how you analyze numbers too. Right. I mean, just as we've been doing some Facebook things and just looking at the kind of numbers that we generate, and then breaking them down a little bit to see what does it really equate. I mean, you know, do you get that like because of a specific promotion you're running, the promotion ends and suddenly your numbers just drop like a rock, and at that point, what are those numbers actually worth? And you really look at not only what are the numbers, but what do they really mean? And it's easy for clients to look at those numbers and completely misunderstand them. And we need to have, you know, as professionals, we need to have a good understanding of how to measure this when we're done, not just with that easiest total, but rather what does that total represent and how do we equate that to value?
I'm interested to see where our ROI sits with social and online in another few years. We just saw an article just came through talking about the biggest brands in the world, so the Cokes, the Nikes, Old Spice, and the level of engagement in social media that they see, and it's about 1%. 2% is amazing, but 1%, once you minus out a new like, which is basically zero engagement to like something, then I'm coming back to your page, I'm commenting, I'm looking at your photos, 1%. When you look at how many people they have millions of followers, it's not a very big number at the end of the day. So it's really interesting. It's a great question. I can't wait till there's some industry standards so we can do a little bit more benchmarking. But I think a big part of it is setting the right expectation of what's the best.
Particularly at this point when it is such a big question mark still.
Yeah.
Well, and the Facebook like has sort of gone, like, people aren't so enamored by it anymore. I think people might be enamored by it, but, you know, I had a conversation with someone the other day. They have 300,000 Facebook fans, and she said, "But I have no idea who they are. We don't know when they visit. We don't know anything about them. But
There they are.
We've got 300,000. We're the most in the industry, but we don't know anything about it. So how do you measure?
And if there are 300,000 people who aren't buying product or who aren't doing X, then
They should check.
then you've got a big database that you can't do anything with.
And so at that point, what is the return? Who knows?
You know, one thing that's happening to our industry, because you mentioned a little bit about the advertising industry as well, how it's changing or how it's set up right now is kind of, we've got specialists in social media forming companies, and they're small. They might be one person, one or two people. And we've got advertising agencies who are getting into the industry of social media over the last number of years. So we've kind of got this fragmentation happening. So you've got people out there pitching companies on their social media needs without any understanding of the whole brand issue and the campaign that the agency might put together, or the whole messaging track and strategy track. And they're really experts on Facebook and Twitter and those things, and they'll manage the whole thing for you, but they don't stop to think of the traditional marketing stuff, like what's the voice of the company, which equates to the brand.
And they can be really busy without ever doing a single positive thing for your brand.
Yeah, so it's weird. I think I don't know, it's one of those things where maybe we end up taking them over.
That's
Or
where
they grow up
I
and
see the
become a-
round of consolidation coming.
Yeah, like
Yes.
web companies,
Yeah.
which you guys used to be split into two. You're a web company and an advertising agency. We were actually at one time a web company and an advertising agency in one, and we found it was kind of two entirely different cultures. So we separated them. Well, we're now full on advertising agency, and we do our programming just outside of our doors, and that made great sense. But I wonder, like, where's that going to? Who's going to be the experts? Because we still have web companies out there that are full-on web companies.
Who will still be standing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you, especially in a smaller center like Winnipeg, there's
Yeah.
got to be some consolidation, and whether it's attrition, they just go by the wayside, or consolidation,
Yeah.
or amalgamation, or mergers, or whatever. But
Oh, it will happen.
But there's huge argument for specialization, because generalist advertising agencies in other larger cities don't do well.
right.
In this city, that's kind of what we migrate to become, as a generalist, because you get a client, you go, wow, we got this client, they need all the generalist stuff, including the social media. So it's kind of goes against that idea that you need to be a specialist, specialists. So it depends on the city size, I don't know, but all that's going to shake out.
Well, and it
as
takes
well.
resources, right?
Yeah.
You can't be the specialist in everything, and
Yeah.
you need a social person, you need a print,
Yeah.
or a web, you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we found that monitoring and actually engaging clients of our customers, or customers of our clients, on a customer service basis is not a good idea for us. Like, it doesn't fit what we're expert at. We can answer somebody when their TV wasn't shipped properly or it's broken or whatever, and we can go forward it on to the customer service crew. But for us to go through there and do all that, it's just babysitting. It's like,
found the same.
yeah. So
And
we
it's
thought
not
that was a
great
business to get
use of
into.
resources.
No, we thought that was the business to get into. In a way, you could then go to a customer and a client, say, we can do it all. And they go, oh, really, push button, and turnkey, and they go. And then later we were thinking, they need to be inside the company. They need to,
Yeah.
the voice has to come
Well,
from
it
there.
doesn't
Somebody said
scale
that
Well, that's what I was
at all.
talking about, the whole idea of brands abdicating,
Yeah.
or comes abdicating their brands to their agencies. That's where you start to run into problems, where you become so involved that they lose control, and then suddenly you're determining what the brand is. And it's their brand, not yours.
But I think specialist magazines will be around for a long time.
Yeah, of course, of course.
I really do, actually. Yeah, niche
Well, it's like
oriented.
anything, right? Everything has a place. It's
Yeah.
just a matter of what the place is and how do you extend it. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I thank you guys very much for your time.